Beerus found himself slammed against the wall, his body trembling from the impact. Blood trickled down his chin as he stared at the young boy standing before him with eyes that burned like embers. Lieutenant advanced with measured steps, each one deliberate, each one carrying the weight of years of suppressed emotion. His hand rose slowly, energy gathering in his palm like a second sun igniting in the sky. The sphere of power seemed to swallow the very space around it, bending light itself. Goten's voice cut through the silence like a blade forged in fury. You stopped me from reaching my goal before, but now I'll be the one to stop you from living. The words weren't merely a threat. They were delivered with such chilling calm that everyone watching felt their spines freeze. This wasn't the Goten they knew. Something fundamental had shifted within him, as if a child had finally awakened to a terrible truth. Vegeta frowned, unable to comprehend how such a young boy could reach this level. His pride wrestled with the reality of what he was witnessing. Gohan shouted desperately, trying to awaken his brother from what he saw as madness. "Goten, stop! Don't do this!" But the boy didn't even turn his head. Krillin and Piccolo watched in horror, their faces pale with shock. Goku's voice thundered across the battlefield, filled with pleading desperation. "Goten, stop. Leave him. Don't let anger consume you." The agony in his father's voice should have pierced Goten's heart, but it only seemed to fuel the flames burning inside him. In the distant palace, the Grand Priest watched with a grim expression, his fists clenched tightly. If I let this continue, Beerus won't survive. The entire structure could crumble. But Zeno sat clapping with childlike joy. Enjoying the spectacle, the priest was powerless to act. To interfere would invite the Omni King's opposition. Back on the battlefield, Goten unleashed his fury. The energy sphere pulsed with intensity, his eyes locked on Beerus with an intensity that made the god of destruction feel something he hadn't felt in eons. Fear. Real, genuine fear. Suddenly, Goten screamed, a primal release of all the pain, all the frustration, all the years of being overlooked and cast in the shadow of his father and brother. He released his power. The air exploded. A shockwave of pure destruction erupted from the point where the energy was released, tearing through the battlefield like a wave of annihilation. The ground beneath everyone's feet shattered into fragments. Those standing nearby were hurled backward, forced to raise their arms to shield their faces. The energy was so concentrated, so overwhelming, that it seemed to tear holes in the fabric of reality itself. Whis, always so calm and composed, was eye-wide with shock. His usual collected demeanor cracked like porcelain. He muttered to himself, his voice barely audible above the chaos. That's a killing force. There's no way Beerus can survive this. The companions exchanged glances of finality. Each one was convinced they had just witnessed the moment when a god of destruction would fall at the hands of a child. As the dust settled, the scene slowly revealed itself. Beerus lay sprawled on the ground, his body drenched in blood and covered with scratches. His breathing came in ragged gasps, his features trembling from the force of impact. But he wasn't dead. Despite everything, despite the overwhelming power that had been unleashed upon him, the god of destruction forced himself up with tremendous difficulty. His body screamed in protest with every movement. He sneered through his ragged breaths, trying to project confidence that he clearly didn't feel. "You couldn't kill me, you weak child." The words came out cold, but everyone watching could hear the desperation beneath them, the terrified falsetto of a being trying to maintain an image that was rapidly crumbling. Suddenly, a cold smile appeared on Goten's face. It was a smile none of them had ever seen from him before. It was the smile of someone who had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. He raised his head slightly, and when he spoke, his voice was as sharp as tempered steel. "I didn't want to kill you yet. I wanted to have some fun first. I'll make you taste torment before I finish you." The words fell like thunderbolts into the minds of everyone present. Beerus froze, shock clear in his violet eyes. This wasn't the respectful boy who had looked up to the gods. This was someone new, someone dangerous. Krillin clenched his fists, his voice quiet but firm as he thought aloud. This isn't the Goten we know. He's completely changed. There was a sorrow in the statement that cut deeper than any blade. Goku raised his voice, desperately trying to reach his son through the haze of anger. Goten, stop. This isn't you. Don't let your anger turn you into something you can't control. The ending won't be in your favor. But the reply wasn't what anyone expected. Goten turned his head slightly toward his father, staring at him with eyes that burned with resentment that had been building for years. When he spoke, it was with a rudeness that Goku had never heard from his son before. His voice dripped with contempt. You don't understand anything, father. You spent your whole life fighting, yet you achieved nothing but failure against your strongest foes. You always forgave your enemies. From the beginning, Beerus was an enemy. He wanted to destroy our planet if not for the chance he found in food. He mocked us, threatened us, and yet you let him continue. Not once did you consider ending him. I won't be like you. I won't be a disappointment. Now in my hands lies a key to change everything, and I will change it. I will change the entire order. Goku trembled, his eyes widening as though a sword had been driven through his chest. The words struck him like physical blows. He couldn't believe these words had come from his own son. The friends exchanged uneasy glances, uncertainty and worry etched into their features. Gohan shouted again, desperate now. Goten, snap out of it! This isn't you! But the boy kept walking toward Beerus, each step making the air heavier, more suffocating. The weight of his power pressed down on everything around him like an invisible force. Whis broke the silence with his calm voice, sounding almost like a psychologist explaining the condition of a dangerously unstable patient. This Goten is no longer that innocent child. Years of bottled-up pressure have erupted within him. His constant sense of being his father and brother's shadow, his frustration at never being acknowledged as a true warrior, and the fear of failure he buried deep inside. All of it has now exploded after seeing his father wounded before his eyes. What we see now is nothing but the embodiment of his inner turmoil. All those boiling emotions given form and power. As Whis explained, the scene grew more brutal. Goten struck Beerus with rapid, crushing blows, not meant to kill instantly, but to humiliate, to demonstrate dominance over a being the universe had feared for millennia. Beerus staggered, breathing heavily, blood spraying with each punch. Goten continued with that cold smile, savoring the control he had over the god of destruction's fate. Everyone watched, powerless to intervene. The strength gap had become too vast to cross, but the moment wasn't confined to Earth. Its echoes reached across the universes, rippling through the cosmic fabric. The other gods of destruction gathered with their attendants, watching through cosmic orbs. Each reacted in their own way, their pride shattered by what they witnessed. Belmod laughed mockingly, his deep voice echoing through his palace. So this is your end, Beerus? You always pretended to be superior, to be untouchable, and now you're nothing but a mouse in the hands of a child. Some of the others shook their heads in disdain at Beerus's fate. But Champa was different. Leaning back, his heavy voice carried a strange note of ambivalence. Beerus, you fool. I always hated you, but it's strange to see you like this. I don't know. Maybe I wanted to be the one to take you down, not someone else. Vados's voice, however, was filled with genuine concern. This isn't normal. What worries me is not Beerus. It's Whis. He's committed a grave crime by training Goten to this level. If it's proven he allowed this child to reach such power, the punishment awaiting him will be far worse than losing his position. The implications of her words hung in the air. Whis had crossed a line that might never be uncrossed. On Earth, the situation reached its climax. Goten grabbed Beerus's head with both hands, his fingers digging into the god's skull with tremendous force. Sweat and blood streamed down Beerus's face as he screamed in agony. His head looked like it might burst under the crushing pressure. For the first time, Beerus's scream carried true fear, not the fear of a warrior facing a strong opponent, but the terror of a being facing annihilation. But Goten didn't stop. He pressed harder, the air around them spiraling into a violent storm of destruction. The energy swirled like a maelstrom of chaos, and Goten was about to crush Beerus's head completely. Goku's voice thundered through the battlefield with a force that made the earth shake. Goten, stop. If you continue down this path, then don't ever consider yourself my son again. You've brought shame on me, on our family, and on the entire earth. The words pierced Goten's heart like knives. Everyone was stunned by their harshness. The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Suddenly, Goten's body began to shake violently. He screamed in unbearable agony, as if a massive energy was surging back inside him. Burning him from within, his veins bulged and his body convulsed under the overwhelming force. Everyone gasped in shock. Krillin shouted, "What's happening to him?" Gohan leapt forward in fear. "Goten!" The boy collapsed completely onto the ground, his body trembling in agony. Whis was the only one who seemed to understand. He placed a hand on his chin and explained with concern, "Ultra Instinct. It isn't just a transformation, it's a state of mind and body. The psychological and emotional pressure Goten endured made him use this power recklessly. Now his body is paying the price." Everyone was stunned by the explanation, their faces clouded with worry. As for Beerus, drenched in blood and sweat, sprawled on the ground, he looked at Goten with a mix of shock and hatred. Inside, he thought, "Impossible. This child nearly killed me. If not for this breakdown, my end would have been here. But this is my golden chance. I won't let him rise again." Beerus began to crawl, struggling despite the pain. His eyes glinted with malice. The god of destruction had seen his opening. At that moment, Goten looked from afar at his father's shocked face. Goku's harsh words still echoed in his head like a stab wound. "You are no longer my son." Tears mixed with Goten's sweat as he stretched his trembling hand toward his father, whispering in a broken voice, "Dad, don't leave me." His voice was so small, so vulnerable, stripped of the power and anger that had filled it moments before. The moment split into two threads. On one side, Beerus preparing to pounce and finish Goten while the boy was weakened. On the other side, Goku wrestling with his guilt and the cruelty of his own words. Then Goku shouted with all his might, "Stop Beerus!" But Beerus, seizing the opportunity that Goten's weakness presented, gathered the last of his energy and fired a death beam straight into the boy's chest. The entire battlefield shook as the beam pierced through Goten's body. A small explosion followed by his agonizing scream that tore through everyone's hearts. Goten collapsed, blood pouring from his chest, his body still flickering with unstable Ultra Instinct light. It was too late for heroics. Everyone froze in place. Whis put a hand to his forehead, in shock, unable to believe Beerus had gone this far. Vegeta, despite his pride, widened his eyes in disbelief and muttered, This is madness." Gohan rushed forward, tears streaming down his face. "Goten! Goten!" They all gathered around the boy lying on the ground, his breath ragged, the glow around him fading away like a dying star. Goku knelt beside his son, tears streaming down his face as he shook him gently. "Goten, my son, don't give up. Please forgive me. I didn't mean those words. Forgive me, my boy." Goten, his voice weak and broken, smiled despite his pain. "Dad, don't apologize. It's my fault. All of this is because of me. I only wanted to be like you. To prove I wasn't weak. Forgive me instead." Everyone began to cry, even Vegeta, who bit his lip and turned his face away to hide his emotions. Goku sobbed harder. "No, my son. You never failed me. I was always proud of you, and you'll always be my hero, no matter what." Goten raised his trembling hand, touching his father's cheek and gently wiping away his tears. Then he whispered, his voice broken and fading, "Dad, I achieved my dream. I reached Ultra Instinct. That was my goal. And now I want to give it to you." Goku shook his head with tears, streaming. "No, don't do it. You'll lose your life." But Goten smiled, blood still dripping from the corner of his mouth. Don't worry. This is my gift to you, Father. My power, my life. Everything I have for you. His body began to glow once again. The energy of Ultra Instinct gathering and flowing slowly into Goku through his outstretched hand. Goku tried to push it away, crying out, "Stop. I don't want this. I want you, not your power." But Goten whispered his final words, smiling softly. "You'll always be my hero, Dad." Then he closed his eyes in peace, his light slowly fading as the Ultra Instinct energy merged into Goku's body. A deadly silence consumed the battlefield. Everyone was in shock while Goku sat holding his son in his arms. Then the ground shook with the echo of Goku's scream. A scream no one had ever heard before. A mixture of pain, sorrow, and pure rage. The earth beneath his feet began to crack and the sky opened with strange colors as though the universe itself was responding to his grief. Goku, cradling his dead son in his arms, walked forward slowly, each step striking the hearts of all who watched. Tears still poured from his eyes, but at the same time, Goten's energy flowed within him, warm, pure, like his son's soul living on, eternally inside his father. And then the change began. The air around him ignited with brilliant light. His hair rose suddenly, turning into a shining white, purer than any form before. His eyes became glowing golden, their gaze piercing straight through the soul. Everyone stepped back in awe. Vegeta whispered under his breath, "Impossible. This isn't Ultra Instinct, it's something beyond." Whis covered his mouth, stunned. Goten's power merged with Goku, creating a level never seen before. From his corner, Beerus, writhing in pain, widened his eyes in horror. "What is this? Is this my end?" Whis stepped forward, his expression grave. "I now understand what has occurred. Goten didn't just achieve Ultra Instinct, he transcended it. By merging his consciousness, his very essence, with his father, he created something unprecedented. This is beyond angel level. This is a power that defies classification." Goku said nothing for a long moment. He stood surrounded by radiant light, looking almost like an angel of pure energy. His appearance had transformed completely. Then, in a deep voice filled with sorrow and tenderness, he whispered to himself, his voice reaching everyone on the battlefield. "Goten, thank you, my son. Your power will remain with me. I'll make it eternal, and I'll avenge you." He lifted his head and fixed his gaze directly at Beerus. His steps were steady, calm, but each one made Beerus feel as though he was staring death in the face. Vegeta couldn't hold himself back. "Kakarot, what have you become?" But Goku did not answer. His eyes were fixed only on Beerus. The god of destruction tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't obey. Fear had taken control. Goku advanced, and with a single gesture, released a wave of energy that sent Beerus flying backward, crashing through multiple structures. The god of destruction struggled to his feet, realizing that what stood before him was no longer a being he could comprehend. He was outmatched in every conceivable way. Whis appeared suddenly, his staff raised. The angel's voice was firm. "Enough. I'm taking Beerus back. This battle is over." But Goku turned his gaze toward Whis, and the angel felt something he had never felt before: genuine fear. However, before Goku could move, Whis activated his technique, retreating with Beerus in tow. The god of destruction vanished from the battlefield, leaving behind only dust and the echo of his humiliation. The remaining gods of destruction who had been observing began to retreat as well, realizing that the balance had fundamentally shifted. The era of their dominion was ending. Goku stood alone on the battlefield, surrounded by his friends who approached cautiously. They didn't dare speak, fearing that any word might disturb the raw power radiating from him. In his hand, Goku held the pendant that Goten had left him, its glow pulsing gently, as though Goten's spirit was still present within it. The sun began to rise over the horizon, casting long shadows across the destroyed landscape. And Goku whispered one more time, his voice barely audible, "Goten, I promise you, your sacrifice will not be forgotten. Everything you dreamed of, I will make real." The light of his power illuminated the entire world, a beacon of a new age dawning.